Hello and welcome to this webinar, which is the launch of the West Midlands Combined Authority Activate Skills Development Grant. So we're delighted to have you all here. And so this is going to be an opportunity for us to tell you all about this really exciting grant, all about what's happening, how you can apply, how we're going to be assessing the grant and all sorts of details like that. And you'll be hearing from a number of different speakers over the course of the webinar. So just in terms of anyone that hasn't been to a Zoom webinar before, so it's slightly different to a Zoom meeting. So you're able to ask questions. You'll have a button on there and you can submit questions. We will have a Q&A session at the end. And also we'll talk to you a little bit about how you can check out all of our frequently asked questions and all of the resources that are available on the website. So my name is Jeff Baxter, so I'm part of Smarter Society, and there's a few organisations who are involved in the grant. So I'm just going to explain a little bit about each one and then take you through the agenda for today's webinar. So there are three key organisations. So the first one is the West Midlands Combined Authority. They are the funder of the grant, so they hold the purse strings, and they'll be selecting which organisations and freelancers are going to be in receipt of the grant. So Smarter Society, we are the grant administrators, so we manage the grant process. So we make sure that the grant we manage the application process. We'll manage the assessment process, and also if you have any questions or queries or issues with the application system, then it's us that you'll come through and hear to. And then finally, we've also been involved working with a fantastic organisation called Culture Central. Many of you will be aware of this. So Culture Central are a cultural and creative expert within the West Midlands, and they've been helping us to structure the grant so that it's as inclusive and as clear and as well communicated as possible. And so judging by the number of people that are attending this webinar, then we know that they've done a fantastic job with that. So in terms of the agenda, so we're going to have an introduction from the West Midlands Combined Authority, and they're going to talk to you a little bit about the grant itself. What we're then going to do is we're going to hear from somebody, a creative professional, Dee, and I'll introduce Dee in a sec, that's benefited from skills development or continuing professional development, as we call it, or CPD for short. I'm then going to take you through how to apply for the grant, the system that we're going to use, and how your application works. We're then going to talk about how the grants are going to be assessed and what the next steps are, and then we'll have a Q&A session, and we'll talk to you a little bit about that, and then wrap up after that. Okay, so without further ado, I would now like to introduce to you two members of the West Midlands Combined Authority, Bryony Windsor and Amo Talwa. So I'm going to hand over to Bryony now, who's going to introduce the grant.
Hi, thanks, Jeff. And just for clarity, Amo is a former member of our Cultural Leadership Board, and so is independent of the Combined Authority. But I thought it was really important to come along today with you, Amo, to talk about how you, the Cultural Leadership Board, freelancers and cultural organisations have helped to kind of shape how we invest, what we invest in, and that's led us to this programme today. So I just quickly wanted to acknowledge that the funding is from the Commonwealth Games Legacy Enhancement Fund, which was secured by the WMCA for the region. And that is a one-off time-limited fund, and that's why this is a one-off time-limited fund. But hopefully we'll be able to make the case for bigger, bolder things like this in future. So Amo, I know it was really important to you and the board that this funding went directly to freelancers, and particularly kind of small organisations as well. Can you just say a bit more about that and why you think that's important, and maybe what you hope this fund will achieve?
Sure. So I'll take the West Midlands Combined Authority salary if you want me to pretend that I work for the Combined Authority. By the way, I just thought I'd start off. No, I think our scene, arts, music. I'm Amateur, our chief exec of Punch Records. We're a music company based in Deepworth, and I also sit on the cultural leadership board. I think it's really important to acknowledge that our sector, 70 to 80% of our sector is made up of freelancers, and often the freelancers don't get the support. And not just support, but the guardrails to create for them to become more innovative, and it ultimately has a fiscal effect on the sort of broader cultural economy. So the Cultural Leadership Board did some real interesting work before the Commonwealth Games, just around data analysis, who's doing what, where are they doing it, participation levels. And one of the things that came out was culture and heritage is innately an inward investment. It's something that people look to. So if you look at, say, especially, I suppose, in the big cities like Birmingham, Coventry, Wolverhampton, Goldman Sachs don't move to Birmingham unless there's a good cultural and heritage and creative scene. And without our freelancers, that scene doesn't exist. The problem is there are not enough opportunities around just give us some cash because we know what we're doing. And so we were really keen to make sure that those messages were heard in terms of some of the data that was coming back.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's what we heard sort of loud and clear in the data and in events that were put on at places like Birmingham Open Media, which freelancers, some of you might be on the call, kind of showed up and kind of really told us what you needed. And this grant fund is a response to that. So whilst there has to be an application process that Jeff is going to go through, hopefully it's tight and, it's for people to spend the money on what they know is really important, rather than us as a big kind of combined authority telling people what CPD looks like. And we know that people know what they need, and ultimately they just need to be paid as well to undertake these opportunities. Amo, is there anything else you wanted to say to people who may be on the call thinking about applying, maybe haven't had grants before?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, without freelancers, there's no arts economy. Let's just be really blunt and bold about that. That's the first thing. Secondly, you are the experts. You know what you need. Be bold, be greedy, and, just be entrepreneurial in it. We can only say no. But ultimately, this is a real unique opportunity for you to get things that make you better and ultimately make our economy and our culture and our creativity better. So, just really think about what is it you need. And that's it, really.
I completely agree, Amo, and that's a perfect segue into Jeff and Dee telling us, a bit more. Thanks so much, Amo.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Bryony and Amo. So I'm now going to introduce to you a creative professional. So Dee Muning, and Dee is a freelance cultural producer. Dee's got a really great story about how she's benefited from skills development, from developing herself, and how that's benefited her. So I would now like to pass over to Dee and introduce yourself. Hi, Dee. So, Dee, you're going to need to move on to unmute yourself.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Dee. Hi, I'm Dee, cultural producer. Thank you for inviting me here today. I'd like to say, imagine a world where your creativity remains static, where your skills never evolve beyond what you know today. As creatives, as freelancers, we thrive on innovation, pushing boundaries and exploring new horizons. But the key to unlocking our full potential lies in one essential commitment: continual professional development. It's not just about staying relevant. It's about empowering ourselves to create the future, not just to react to it. I'm an individual who did not finish school and didn't have any qualifications and went back into education in my late 20s. I then went on to work across various different career paths, such as a community artist, youth worker, hairdresser, barber, holistic practitioner, and then finally ended teaching as a college lecturer for 17 years. I gained valuable transferable skills and experiences from these careers. These skills form the core of my skill set today. They grounded me, empowered me to be where I am right now. As a college lecturer, CPD was essential to my personal development and progression. It made me identify all my weaknesses. It kept me up to date with governing bodies and sectors' criteria, standards and policies. It kept my qualifications valid and maintained theoretical and practical skills, and it also grew my confidence and my self-esteem. It made me explore new ways of working and how to be more creative in my practice. It also helped me deliver a wider range of skills for the students that I taught. And it also upskilled and empowered me to complete my higher education teaching qualifications and pursue a Bachelor's of Science in Sports Therapy. I continued my learning journey by taking a great leap, a very brave leap, to join Opus Empower producer training with Helga Henry and Lara Ratnaraja. I left a salaried job to pursue my dreams and gain money and breathing space. Oh, sorry. It introduced me to various leadership. Sorry, it made me identify as areas for improvement, keeping up with standard industries and expanding my qualifications, and enabled me to deliver a great range of skill. The overall purpose of the programme was to equip me with the knowledge, skills and confidence needed to succeed in the arts sector by covering various aspects from funding, goal setting to networking and professional development. The Empower programme aimed to provide a well-rounded foundation that helped me navigate and thrive in a very competitive sector. Over the past 2.5 years, the arts sector, within it, I have produced some amazing projects, such as with Birmingham Dance Network, Compton Verney, Fierce, Opus, Birmingham Opera Company, Flourish, West Midlands Health Collaborative, and Birmingham Hippodrome. To give back, I mentored 2 young Black filmmakers with the programme Reframe with the South Bank Centre. I shared my knowledge, my expertise with them. I guided them on understanding and completing funding applications, time management, planning, provided business and legal advice, discussed how to generate income, and explained copyright and equity. I offered new and diverse perspectives and practiced empathy, active listening, attentiveness, helping them to explore their creative vision without judgment and fear. I learned from their craft and relevant information they shared with me. We exchanged lived experiences of inequality and coping strategies. My professional journey developed this year as I took another leap to participate in Culture Central's leadership programme, The Collective, confronted my deepest fears, such as being too scared to apply for tenders and funding and not putting myself forward for opportunities, and also doubting my abilities. The Collective taught me to think differently and understand the impact of the decisions of future work, encouraged me to read more academic content related to the arts sector. It introduced me to various leadership styles, approaches, people and networks, emphasised the importance of critical thinking, radical approaches, collaborative working practice and networking. And it prompted reflection of all my past roles and experiences, and it helped me envisage where I see myself in the next 5 to 10 years. In this ever-evolving arts sector, continual professional development isn't just an advantage, it's a necessity. So I ask you to consider these points. What are the skills, support and resources you need to advance your career or your project? Think about the CPD that you need to equip you with the tools to innovate, adapt and excel in your creative pursuits, enabling you to test and learn, evolve and stay at the forefront of industry trends. It's through ongoing growth that freelancers, truly make a lasting impact on the arts sector. Thank you.
Brilliant, thank you very much indeed, Dee. So I think hopefully you know that's a really inspirational story of somebody that's grasped CPD and you know has made a massive difference to them in terms of that. So you know I think it you know really highlights just you know the power of what a grant like this can do. So thank you for that, Dee. Okay, so we're now moving on to just a little bit of information about the grant, and we're going to start to go through details of how to apply. So let's start off with the key dates, which obviously is really important. So applications are now open, and so we'll explain how you can apply. The application form will close on Wednesday, the 18th of September at 11:59 p.m. So what that means is that at 11:59 p.m. The ability for you to be able to submit your application will turn off. What we would suggest is that you aim to try and have your application in by around midday on Wednesday, the 18th of September, because then if you have any issues with regards to you know any tech issues, we will be able to manage those through. So yeah, so that's it. But that's when it closes. What we will be notifying all applicants of the status of their application in early October. So in terms of the specific dates, we will be aiming to do that as early as possible. But all activity within the grant must be completed by Friday, the 13th of December. And we'll explain a little bit about that. But this is a really tight time frame grant in terms of when the activity must be completed. So that's going to be an important part of your grant application. So I'm now going to talk you through how you can apply, and we're going to just move across to the grant system. So I will share that with you now. So here is the grant application form. The link will be sent out in the chat. The link will be sent out to everyone that has applied. So all the details will be made available. But if you want to see it, the link is wmca.smartergrants.org. And so I'm showing you the homepage, which you'll be greeted with when you log on. It shows you that. Just looking up here, here is your opportunity to get any sort of question or support. You can click on that link and that will open up an email. We have a specific email address for this grant, which is wmca@smartersociety.org. Some details about the development grant. A get started button, which will be no surprise that that's how you get started. We've also highlighted the detailed eligibility criteria for this. So make sure that you go through and that you clearly understand the eligibility for this grant, specifically about the geographic location, about when you need to have completed activities by, because they are really crucial in terms of us being able to actually assess your grant and for you to be eligible about it. Some details of the key dates, and then also down here we have an FAQ section. So clicking into the FAQs, there is lots and lots of details here of questions that we know will be asked and details in there. And we'll be going through some of those now. But go into the FAQ section. That's really important to read, and that's the first step in terms of if you have any questions. So it's a very simple process, and the system allows you to be able to start applying for your grant, but then log out and log back in so that you can then think about the answers that you're going to put forward, so that you don't have to submit write your grant and submit it all in one go. So you can put your email address in here, and then you need to put in a password. Confirm that you've read the privacy policy, which is down here, and then create your account. Okay, so once you've created your account, you move into your grant application dashboard, and that has got the time clock in there telling you exactly how much time you've got to apply. Okay, so if you ever need to know that, log into your dashboard and the details are in there. Your application button in terms of accessing your application is here on the green button. And there's also a support button which you can press, which will open up and create an email so that you can email through to us if you have any issues. Okay, so clicking in and going into the application form. So the application form is really simple, and it's got a number of different sections in there. And the section's really important for you to understand why we want to ask that information, because some of it is in part about data that we need to collect on behalf of the funding organisation to look at where applications are coming from and also ultimately where the grant is being awarded to. But then there's also information about how you can tell us about how important that this grant's going to be for you and what you're going to be spending on, so that we can see how important it's going to be for you. All the questions that are mandatory are marked with a star, little red star, and you need to fill in all of the mandatory questions before you can save the application. So that's a really important thing to know. So your name, your contact number, then a little bit of detail about your organisation, the organisation of the freelancer name, what type of organisation that you can put in there, your unique tax reference, or if you are a sole trader, or alternatively your charity number or company reference number in there. There is an address line in there, and you just need to start typing in your address, and that will automatically fill in there so that you can then just select that. So that's very easy. Your estimated annual turnover just needs to be an estimate, doesn't need to be specific. When you formed, so when you either registered as a sole trader or when your company or charity was formed. If you're a charity or a company, you need to upload your incorporation certificate, and if you're a freelancer, you need to upload the proof of ID. These are not mandatory questions in here, but you will need to make sure that you provide that as part of your application for us to be able to assess that. You need to put in a bank statement. So the bank statement must reference the address that you put in there. It must be an address within the West Midlands. And then details of your sector, so in there. And then a really important one is around whether you require any sort of accessibility support for the grant application. If you do, please put yes. And then also just drop an email to us. So drop a support email to us to just let us know that you need some support. We will reach out to you and so that we can understand that there are a number of potential opportunities to receive some support based on what your specific needs are. And so let us know as soon as possible. We would like to receive all requests for additional support by next Friday, so that we've got necessary time to be able to arrange that, and so that gives you time to be able to submit your grant application. So next Friday is the deadline for any accessibility support requirements. So the next section is some standard questions around diversity to make sure that we understand who's applying for the grant. So this is really important in terms of not just actually in terms of the grant itself, but also more broadly in terms of thinking about putting forward a case for future funding for the sector. Then that. So please fill all those details in, and then we move into the actual grant questions, and these are the questions that we will be assessing, and we'll talk through the assessment process in a sec. So the first question is to tell us about your creative practice or work. So this is an opportunity for you to just talk a little bit about what you do, the impact of your work, and also how long you've been doing it for, and so provide a brief overview. There is a limit of 250 words to each of these quality questions, and there's a little counter on the side here to show you how many words that you've got left. The second section is about how you've identified the development needs. Okay, so this is an important one because we want you to explain about how you can how you've identified this development previously, and what steps you may have already taken in terms of looking either for alternative funding, or perhaps how you might have made some steps along the journey in terms of the development. Within each of these questions, it's really important to be as specific as possible. We want to hear good examples within there about what you've done. So make sure that you're really specific within each of these. The third question is, how will the grant help you to develop your skills, practice, and/or organisation? So this is an opportunity to just explain, what it is that you're planning to do in terms of the actual details of the activities, and again, be as specific as possible. It's really important for us to understand exactly what it is that you want to do, and what each part of the funding that you've requested is going to be used for, so that we're really clear on that one. And then finally, why is this development really important for you now? We heard a really great story from Dee about how the steps that she's been through in terms of different stages of CPD and how that's benefited her. And this is a really good opportunity for you to be able to clearly explain that. Finally, so we talked a little bit about the deadline of the 13th of December in terms of that this funding needs to be used by. You need to explain very clearly about how the funding will be used by 13th of December. And so that's a really important part, because if your funding is not able to, or if all activities within the funding are not able to be completed by the 13th of December, then you will not be eligible for this grant. We absolutely understand that that's a tight time frame. That's just the nature of this specific piece of funding. So it's really important that you're very clear about that. And within that, you might want to consider not only highlighting when you're going to complete these activities, but also if there was an issue, or for example, if a training course got cancelled that you were putting forward, what the other alternative option would be, so to make sure that you've got all of those activities completed. Okay, here's a section. So outline each of the areas that you're going to be spending the grant on. So be specific about where the money is going to be spent, with whom, and how much. If you have any quotations or any cost breakdown, you can upload it into here. And then here is some details of the estimated costs. Just to run through those, so the expenses cost, any material costs that you've got. If you are planning to buy some software, what the software license costs, training course, travel costs, and obviously if you're doing training, if there is the fact that you will have a loss of income, you can put the details into there. That will work out the total amount, or you need to work out the total amount that you've applied for, and that is the number that we will be basing the application on. But also you are entitled to apply for personal access costs, which are on top of the grant. And this is about making sure that this grant scheme is as inclusive and as accessible as possible. So once you've completed all the mandatory questions, you can save, and then that will take you through to the grant summary. At that point, you can log out of the grant system and log back in. You can go in, you can adjust your questions, and get your grant completed nice and easily. And if you have any support issues, then you've got the support email. You can email through to us. So then once you've gone through to your summary, you must then press the submit button. The submit button will then submit the grant, and it will send you an email to confirm that you have submitted the grant. Okay, so that's a really important thing. So that final submission button will generate that email, and that will confirm that you have submitted your grant. Okay, so that is the details of the grant application form. I'm going to move back to the presentation. Okay, so just to confirm, all grant applications will go through the grant application form. I've explained about how you can fill in the grant application. Make sure that you highlight to us if you have any access requirements, and we can take those offline and just discuss them with you. And then if you have any questions, you can contact us at wmca@smartersociety.org. So if you have any questions. Okay. So thinking about how the grant is going to be assessed, so this is obviously going to be a really important one, and this is going to be a competitive grant scheme. We want to make sure that the freelancers and small organisations that are receiving this grant are going to make the best use of this. So we want to just explain to you about how it's going to be assessed. So the first stage is the eligibility, and this is about making sure that you fulfil all of the eligibility criteria. The second element will be the feasibility of it. Can you complete all of the activities within the time frame, that 13th of December deadline? And that's really important that you explain very clearly about how you're going to do that. And then finally, those quality questions of how you're going to use the grant, what steps you've already taken to identify your development needs, and the other questions. We'll look at those in terms of of how specific you've been, and the information that you put in there. So be as specific as possible, and provide us with as much detail as you can to really demonstrate how important this grant is going to be for you. Once all of that scoring is done, that then moves forward to a grant approval board, and that grant approval board is effectively from members of the West Midlands Combined Authority. They will consider the grant scoring alongside fair geographic and demographic distribution across the region, and they will make the decisions in terms of where the grants will be allocated. So the total fund is 430,000, and it will be equally allocated between small organisations and individual freelancers. So you can apply for between £1,000 and £9,000, and that excludes personal access costs as well. So you can highlight your personal access costs on top of that. There isn't any match funding required, but you can offer it as part of your application, and so that will be considered in there. In terms of payments, you will be paid 80% of the funding up front, and then 20% on evidence of completion. So that's how the payment split will be worked. So we recognise that this is this is going to be a competitive fund. In fact, just to give you an idea, we had over 400 registrations to attend this webinar. So we know that this is a really important grant, and this is going to be a great opportunity. It's really important to ask for what you need. We recognise that people want to do as much CPD as possible. But within the time frames, we want to just make sure that you're asking for what you need, and that's going to represent value for money, because we want to make sure that the grant is spread across as many organisations and freelancers as possible. For such a large grant, I'm afraid, unfortunately, we can't give individual feedback to applications that are unsuccessful. This is just due to the actual size of the application pool, and it's just not feasible for us to be able to do that. But what we will do is we will provide you with details of signposting to other supports, other resources within the local area, which will come out within the communications that go out. So you'll get some information around that. But obviously, you know, if you're asking the question as to why you can't give individual feedback, then that's the reasoning, right? Okay, so we now move on to the next steps. So in terms of the next steps, the important things are that you need to register on the system. So do that. Contact us if you have any questions. WMCA at smartersociety.org. And then I think the final piece is to really echo what Amo said, which is to just go for it. Really go for it in terms of the application, and really show us how important this is going to be. Show us what previous research you've done or previous information that you've found out about in terms of this, and that's going to demonstrate that the CPD that will be funded by this grant isn't just something that you've thought about today or tomorrow. This is something that you've been thinking about for a long time. That it's going to move you forward in terms of your professional career, and it's going to help that. Whilst the deadline for applications is the 18th of September, you can apply at any time actually. So once your application goes through, then the scoring process will start. There is no benefit for applying early, but actually with a lot of these processes, I think lots of people like to get their application in and done and dusted. So if you want to go ahead and apply early, that's absolutely fine. Okay, so that's provided you with all the details. So what to do if I have a question? So I showed you on the website, and the website link is here, wmca.smartergrants.org. At the bottom, there is a link to the FAQ, the frequently asked questions. And we've put in there a whole series of responses to questions that we know will come up in terms of eligibility, in terms of guidance, in terms of what represents continuing professional development and what doesn't. So what's going to be, you know, in terms of eligible, it's got all the details and the dates in there. And then also you can just run through that. If that doesn't answer your question, you can send an email to wmca@smartersociety.org. And what we'll do is we'll consider the question and we'll respond back to you with details. Either we'll point you towards something within the FAQ, or alternatively we'll send a response. And we will be updating the FAQs, the FAQ section, as we receive questions in. What you can also do on the webinar, so we're going to leave the webinar open for the next few minutes, is that you can ask us a question now. So we can do that. You can pop something in the question. We will start to take a look through that now. That is the end of the formal webinar. That is the end of the details. I'd like to thank Dee and Amo, who've had to head off now. But I'd also like to encourage anyone that would like to ask us a question now to ask it. We will try to answer as many as possible, and Bryony will be around to do that. So I'm going to just open up the questions. So we're going to start running through this. We will probably not get through all of the questions. But we will try to kind of summarise them. So we've had a question in around support requirements, specifically around British Sign Language interpreters. So the important thing to do that is if you have any access requirements, please send those through to us at WMCA@smartersociety.org. And then we'll be able to answer you specifically about all of the access opportunities around that.
On accessibility, so there's been a few questions while you've been kind of chatting, I've been able to see some of them. And so a couple of people have asked, what are personal access costs? And I just wanted to kind of clarify the difference between pre-application access support, which is, so you need support to write an application, and you can contact Smarter Society and they will put that in place for you. Whereas personal access costs are if you were to be awarded a grant, then you might need support to be able to deliver that grant. That could be anything that enables you to sort of fully access that opportunity. So that would be funded in addition to your request for the opportunity. So to give an example, you might want a personal support worker to come along with you to a training session that you've identified, and the cost of paying them would come under personal access costs. So there isn't a limit. Somebody's asked what's the limit, and because obviously we want to make this as inclusive as possible, you will know what support you need and what works best for you. So there isn't a limit on how much you can apply for. We know people only apply for things that are relevant and reasonable, and so that's entirely up to you. So just wanted to cover that off. And on Jeff's point about asking for access support, the pre-application support, we've got a message in the chat, somebody saying, oh, is that deadline to complete the work? And no, the deadline of next Friday, I think you gave, Jeff, is just if you can, to have contacted Smarter Society to ask for the support to write the application. And if you're watching this webinar after that date, please still get in touch and ask for that support. But we just wanted to make sure that everyone's got the opportunity to put the right support in place for you. So hopefully that answers a few of the questions around accessibility.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Bryony. No, that's really good summary. So super. So we've had another question in about if you applied for the Activate programme and you were unsuccessful, are you still eligible to apply for this grant? So yes, as long as you meet all of the eligibility criteria within there, then you are absolutely eligible to apply for that. Okay. So just running down from some of the sections. So the next one is somebody's asked about whether there's going to be a recording of the webinar. So yes, there is. It's going to be hosted on the Culture Central YouTube channel. And so what will happen is that once it's been uploaded, and that will be uploaded hopefully by end of play on Monday, what we'll do is that we will send out the link to everyone that has registered for this webinar. So there's been a few questions about asking about, what is a small organisation, or what are the parameters around that. So the first stage is to go into the FAQ section, because we've put in there the specific details around the eligibility for small organisations, and you'll be able to just run through that and check within that you are eligible in terms of that. And then also, there have been a couple of questions about identification and and what details people need to provide in terms of their tax reference. So check out the frequently asked questions first, and if it doesn't provide that, then drop us an email, and we will be able to provide. We'll be able to provide you with any further support or update the FAQ. So in terms of the kind of details from a eligibility, there has been a few questions about whether somebody, if they work within the region, or if they have a base within the region. The first thing to do is to go into that eligibility criteria and take a look through to really understand that, because that is what the assessment will be based on. That's what the funding has been structured around, and you need to make sure that you explain about that. And it's really well written. It's really clear, so that we've got that. And I think that for anyone that's asking any questions about that, then that's an important one. Somebody has raised a question about being a freelancer. They don't have a business bank account, so that's absolutely fine. So if you use your personal bank account as your your freelancer account, that's no problem. You just need to submit that and make sure that that references the address that you've referenced within your application. Okay, just running through there. So there've been a few questions about getting some guidance on the sorts of costs for that are going to be applicable. So again, the first stage is to go into the FAQ. There is a breakdown of the different types of CPD or development that we've highlighted, and some examples in there of costs that are going to be eligible and costs that are ineligible. So take a look through that first, and then if you need to get further guidance, then drop us an email over there. And just running through further, a question about loss of income. So somebody's asked a question to say, if there is, if somebody attends a conference, and that's part of their or an activity, and that's part of their application, can they claim for loss of income for the days, for example? So yeah, that's absolutely eligible. What we'll do is that it needs to be a reasonable cost, and so but that absolutely can be part of your application. Okay, so somebody's asked that can they pay up front for support that would go past the 13th of December? So for example, somebody suggested about support from a consultant for the next either 6 or 12 months. So that will not be eligible. So all activities must be completed by the 13th of December. We understand that time frame is tight. That is just the nature of this funding. So I think that this is something that's really important to highlight. So
I think one thing we're getting asked about a lot are examples, particularly within the tightened time frame. So just really quickly, things like, mentoring or doing a specific course or learning, you might be learning a particular, somebody's just said about a craft skill, you might be sitting down with somebody, a sort of master of something for a few days. It might be that you want to network, you might want to go somewhere. You don't have to stay within the West Midlands, you just have to be able to do that within the time frame. So I think what we can do in the FAQs is kind of give you some more information about this, because it seems to be quite a common and completely understandable topic. Like, hopefully it's relatively broad what people can do, but that obviously naturally leads to lots of questions. And I can see we've got 91 questions in the Q&A. So I'm just thinking, our kind of commitment is to take these away and to put them into the FAQs so that we have got responses for you. But it's kind of coming through that some examples would be really useful for people.
Yeah, great. So what we'll do is I think we will run through these. But the first steps is for any applicants to take a look at those FAQs, run through those. That will answer a number of the questions that have been posed. And what we'll do is that we will be taking away these questions and updating the FAQs over the next few days to ensure that. So, okay, super. So we are past our 45 minutes, and so I think that we recognise that there is a number of questions that are going to need to be reviewed and answered. So it's great that people have put that forward. So thanks much indeed for doing that. Continue to provide the questions through. Continue to ask us about that. But we'd also like to just wish you the best of luck with your application. This is a really great opportunity. You've heard from some really inspirational speakers as to what CPD has done for them and what the opportunity exists. So really, just go for it, and we wish you luck with that. And but otherwise, that is the end for us. So we'd like to thank you for attending the webinar, and we will look forward to receiving your grant applications.